Alright, so I decided, since I have all these subs sitting here, I'd go ahead and do a one-day test on them. All the other tests I've done was on separate days, different weather conditions, etc., etc. So I have all of them. I've got a total of 4. I've got the Ascendant Audio Mayhem, a UFO motored BTL, and a DC level 5, and also the Sundown Nightshade 15 that's in my truck that I have been using. The amp for the test today is going to be the Sundown 4500. Now there is going to be some differences. The Nightshade and the BTL are going to be kind of compared to each other, even though the impedance on the coils is a little different. The Nightshade is a dual 1, whereas the BTL is dual 1.4. So you're talking half ohm on the 4500 on the Nightshade and only 0.7 on the 4500 on the BTL. So there is going to be some power differences. But I just want to see what the output is, and also I'm going to test the thermal capability of consistent burps to see if they can also keep up the score. Now the two that are going to be the same are the Mayhem and the DC. Both of those have dual 0.7 coils, so they're going to be wired up at 1.4. So those are going to see the same amount of power, so we actually get to see what kind of output and also the thermal capability of them. Take you back over here. For each test, I'm actually going, when I test the SPL, I'm also going to clamp the amplifier so I can get a power reading for each sub. As you can see, there's the clamp there, there's the DMM. So I can get an accurate test of everything. And all testing is going to be done with the seat out of the truck. Now with the seat in, that's almost a dB gain that I get. So it's going to be down from, where the truck can do at its, max capability, but this is just for the comparison for the subs. So we're going to get on it. The first is going to be the Nightshade, since it's already in there, and I'll get the other ones. Alright, since I tried to video and clamp test, but that was kind of hard. The clamp on the Nightshade was come out to 4,228 watts with a final load of 1.2. That was after rise from a nominal of 0.5. Now I'm going to do the SPL test. As you can see, I'm over here, the door's open, seat's not in, I'm actually sitting on the floor, and that's what I'll do for all these tests. As you can see, there's the Nightshade, and here is the SPL. Here's the SPL burp. Okay, this one that did a 50.4. Now usually, like I said, the seat's in, I gain more, and also my roof's pretty weak, so I got to have somebody on the roof. But obviously this is just for the test to compare the subs. So the next one up is going to be the BTL. I gotta put that in. I gotta clamp it, get the power from that, and then we'll go from there. Okay, I just clamp tested the BTL. The BTL had a lot more rise than the Nightshade. It actually rose up to 2.2 ohm, and there's only 2,209 watts on it. So I'm about to do the SPL burp now to see what the score is. There's the BTL, and we'll see what kind of score it's got. Here we go. .5, so it's roughly about 2 dB down from the Nightshade. That could be, that's part of a big power loss, only 2,200 watts as opposed to 4,200 watts. But overall, the BTL seems to be pretty good. It's peaking actually a frequency lower than the Nightshade. But the sub is beat in pretty good. It's a loner for the test. So, but anyways, I'm gonna move on to the Mayhem. I think we're gonna do next, and then the DC. All right, got the Mayhem in. Now the Mayhem, along also with the BTL, I've noticed is getting a lot of rise. The BTL resting impedance was 0.7, but it rose quite a good amount, almost up to 2. Is like 2.25 ohm is where it was. This one sits at 1.4, and it rose all the way up to 4 ohm. So for some reason, the FI Ascendant Audio products in this particular box is rising a whole lot more than the Nightshade. And the box is 4 cubes, so I mean, as far as enclosure recommendations, it's the same across the board with all the other ones. I'm going to do the SPL burp here and see what the score looks like. They only got 1,400 watts because the rise went up to 4.2. So we'll see what happens. For some reason my camera's being cloudy. Alright, as you can see, it only did a 46.6, but that's with only 1,400 watts on the Mayhem. Peak on that was at 38, just like the Nightshade is. It didn't really change in frequency, so I'm going to do the DC next, see what kind of power output that has and the impedance rise, and also got the last sub. It's I got the DC level 5 in. We clamp tested it, and the rise doesn't seem to be as bad with the DC because we actually have got 1,681 watts on it as opposed to the 1,400 and change on the Mayhem. Now, one thing I was surprised about when we clamped it, I also left the term lab running and was quite impressed with the score it did, but I wanted to officially get it on video here. Of the score that the DC is doing as opposed to the Mayhem with only a 200 watt power difference. This really shows that even with as big of a motor as the level 5 has, it's still pretty efficient with the power because you're only talking 1,600 watts. It's still below RMS, and still it has great output. So here's the score on the level 5.
Yeah, we're talking about it. We'll see what we can do.
Now that the score we recorded originally was a 47.5. Obviously, it's only a tenth off the track about switch there when I actually burped it. Well, one thing I can see is the DC level 5 did a 47.4 as opposed to the Mayhem's 46.4 that we got out of it. So we're talking a dB difference and only 200 watts more on the level 5, and it's a dB higher than the Mayhem. Now, if we look at our results here, obviously the Nightshade is the most powerful. We had 4,228 watts on it. SPL was a 150.4. Starting impedance was at 0.5, and after rise we had 1.2. The UFO BTL 2,906 watts. SPL of only a 148.6, starting impedance at 0.7, rise went all the way up to 2.2 ohm. Now, something I noticed with the FI and Ascendant audio subs, that they had a lot of impedance rise as opposed to the sundown sub and the DC sub. And as you can see here, 1,681 watts on the DC, 47.5, and a 47.4, 47.6. So basically when it comes down to, if you wanted to compare them between these two, because they were at a lower impedance, obviously the Nightshade was louder than the BTL, but then, you know, power output was a great difference there because of the rise, and also the DC was louder than the Mayhem. So I hate to say it because I was a supporter for a long time, but power versus efficiency and output, the FI and Ascendant audio subs didn't compare to the other ones. Now, that could be box size and everything else. I mean, I did do all this testing with just a box that's 4 cubic foot internal. They all peaked at around the same frequency, 37, 38 hertz. But I mean, if you want to pick a definitive first, second, third, fourth, it's going to be the Sundown Nightshade, the DC, the BTL, and the Mayhem. But I hope everybody likes this test. I know we had some fun doing it this afternoon, minus lifting heavy-ass subs in and out of a box, but it's all in good fun.